Man had a plan.
Yeah. There are multiple instances of the city getting out massive vehicles like land scrapers and graders and stuff, and trying to like ram him.
Yeah, trying to battle him.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's not just a bulldozer bulldozing a city. It is the city then going, well, what do we got?
Yeah.
I think
Scramble the dump trucks.
There was a lot of metal-on-metal screeching going on, especially when he's pushing cars out of the way. There was a lot of screeching noises from the treads. And it was just kind of overwhelming, looking at it and realizing, I don't have a way of stopping this. None of us had a way of stopping it.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast coming at ya from the Slice on Oak Studios. I'm Mayor Dave Badeaux, the city of Brainerd, and with me, as always, is my brother.
I didn't ask to be born.
Oh, come on.
batteries are dead.
The batteries are dead, and nobody can even see what you were trying to do. That's the buzzer. The nope buzzer. Gabriel Johnson, I see you there as well.
Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Are we excited to get started on this one?
I'm pretty excited.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Be Kind Rewind 2004. So for everyone that has not been with us on this long journey we've been on, the Be Kind Rewind is the episodes of the podcast in which we go back and look at a year, and specifically one particular year, this case, 2004, everything that happened within that year in terms of music, pop culture, television, video games, in this case, internet. And then we dissect it and talk about all the things we remember, all the things we don't remember. But it also gives us a chance to go back and revisit some of these things and regurgitate them and have a fresh take on them as well. Episode 1 of the Be Kind Rewind, which is today, is all about TV, movies, games, and a little bit of news as well in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, stay tuned for the little bit of news on this one. No bombings.
No?
No bombings.
No bombings.
No bombings.
No bombings. Well, there were bombings.
We were still bombing Iraq.
Yeah, there were
yeah.
bombings. Don't get me wrong. There were bombings, but no bombings today. However, there's a pretty good news story as well that we'll do at the end. And then next week, we will actually do part 2, which is all the movies from 2004. And I'm pretty excited for that as well. So
It's a couple good ones.
But to start off this year, 2004, let's go ahead and get right into the soundtrack of our lives, the music of 2004. And ladies and gentlemen, there's only one thing that needs to be said about the music of 2004. Yeah! Yeah! Okay!
Okay.
Okay! And that's it. So there were other songs that were
Right, on the games.
there were other songs that were involved as well. Scott likes Green Day. What?
American Idiot came out that year. It was their last decent album.
And I argue this is the first terrible album.
Warning wasn't very good.
Yeah, Warning wasn't very. You're actually right. Warning has like one good song on it.
There's a couple. I like the song Minority.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Dookie.
Dookie was great. They used to be fun. American Idiot is when they became less fun. It became more depressing. Mm-hmm. You missed the boat, guys. You were fun in the 90s when everyone else was depressing.
Yeah.
Now it's the 2000 and people are angry.
Yeah, well, and they adopted right along with it. They started wearing eyeliner and
Yes,
just
they
black
did.
and red. That's when I was like, God damn it, guys. Fucking A, I like you.
All right. Well, music is okay in 2004, but music this was a lull. There was a lot of club beats and whatnot, but nothing really that is worth talking about. So we're gonna skip right past that. Should we talk TV?
Okay.
Okay, let's go TV. The one that I want to talk about right away, right off the top, is the show House.
House MD.
Is it actually called House MD?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I actually thought it was just called House.
Surprised you didn't know that.
Yeah, so probably, I would say it is my favorite 1 hour drama show
Okay.
from television.
Is it 1 hour?
Yeah,
It
I
is?
remember
Wow.
I think.
I thought it was only a half hour.
I don't know.
I
I,
don't know.
fall
Either
asleep. But it's kind of an homage to Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
You have House and Holmes. You have Wilson and Watson.
Yep.
They're both kind of eccentric assholes, both addicted to drugs,
Yep.
both fake their death.
He actually gets shot by a Moriarty.
Moriarty shoots him.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one thing I found very interesting about House is that House is evidently a medical term for history of use. Oh. So when you've got a patient in a hospital, the term that is used is House in some instances. So an interesting little homage right off the top, letting you know, he's addicted to opioids.
Yeah.
He's a genius. And he's an asshole.
He's an asshole. He has one friend.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey. I only have one friend.
We've got rectal bleeding.
What, all of you?
I did know that this was your favorite show, though, in terms of like that format of show. So let's chat for a little bit. It is, later on you get into like your Grey's Anatomies, but before this you had like your ER and stuff. It is of that ilk in that it's
a hospital.
Yeah, it's a hospital show. However, the whole premise of this show is they are based off of real life medical cases in terms of patients that had issues that they couldn't figure out, which is a cool idea. And so the whole thing is people lie. The patient comes in, the patient is going to lie. There's something going on, but they're going to lie to you. And so you have to
go break into their apartment.
Yeah. But fantastic show. I was not big into it when it initially aired, and it was 8 seasons. Come to find out, he actually holds the world record for the most viewed leading man in a television drama. Huh. So this was the highest rated show internationally. I think it was like something like 88 million or something like that views per episode, essentially. And yeah, just a gigantic show that I really wasn't that into. So I went back to it and watched it for the first time, really. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and Hugh Laurie's first love, first passion was comedy, right? And he's in a serious role, but it's a lot of fun, and he's really funny.
Yeah, he does a lot of dry humor throughout the whole thing.
What are you going to do?
I thought I'd get your theories, mock them, then embrace my own. The usual.
And really, I just like characters like that are assholes, and they get away with it.
Everybody respects them. Like, well, he's right.
Yeah. The guy sucks shit, but he's fucking right all the goddamn time.
That's why I love him.
There is a very specific reason why Gabe Johnson likes this show, and it is Gabe Johnson's personality to a T.
And down to the one friend.
There were a couple things that I found really fun in the show as well. He's constantly playing a Game Boy SP, which I thought was fun.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he's constantly on it. And it does the thing that I love about television. Whenever they're playing video games, there's all a bunch of bleeps and bloops.
Yeah.
It's like, the audience knows the bleeps and the bloops.
Is he just frantically smashing the buttons like no one would ever play a video game ever?
Yeah, and I think he's actually playing Metroid Fusion at one point, and he's just smashing buttons. It's like, no, not even remotely.
You have moved left, right, left, right, left, right, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
What are you doing?
Level 4.
No, I mean...
I know what you meant.
Another fun fact that I have for the show, the production company is actually called Bad Hat Harry, which is a reference to the movie Jaws. There's a scene in that where Chief Brody turns to an elderly man who's wearing a bathing hat, I think it is, and he just says, "That's some bad hat, Harry."
Some bad hat, Harry.
So you named your production company after just a one line in a film, which I love.
Nice.
I love. Yeah.
That's some bad hat, Harry.
It's good stuff. Any other thoughts on it?
I love the finale.
Okay.
People were divided at the time.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, it was in 2012, everybody. Yeah. But he's going to get arrested on felony charges.
Okay.
His buddy Wilson, terminal cancer, a couple months to live.
Okay.
House fakes his death and rides off into the sunset with Wilson on their motorcycles to go enjoy the last couple months of his life.
Okay.
How does he fake his death?
He changes his dental records with a patient and then burns a house down with the patient in it. No.
What?
Spoiler alert.
No, the patient was a heroin addict, so it's not really
It's
clear.
fine. It doesn't matter.
No, it's not really clear, but I think the patient gets out of the hospital and then is in his house, and his house burns down, and house wasn't responsible for it.
But then just takes advantage of the situation.
Yeah.
It's very fitting with the character, right? Like the character is not a good guy. And actually they said when he was actually auditioning for it, he thought that his character was not the main character because no one's going to go along with that being a main character. He's an asshole. Nobody likes him. Also, they weren't the casting guy wasn't even aware that he was British.
They wanted an all-American doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weren't even aware he was British. That's how good his American accent, which is crazy to me because American actors are terrible at British accents. Terrible.
Even British actors are terrible at British accents.
Absolutely true. Well, it's a terrible accent.
That guy in Dreamcatcher.
Yes. Oh, God. Oh, don't even remind me.
Let's be friends.
Well, you just reminded me.
Yeah.
But it's funny that same thing with like Christian Bale. A phenomenal, just regular old Joe accent. Are we that basic?
Well, no, we're not. We control the world.
Right.
Hugh Laurie credits his accent to watching TV and movies.
TV.
Sure. There you go. Yeah, you've just been consuming it for all of your life.
Yeah, if we grew up watching nothing but Peppa Pig, and I think that's actually been a problem for some people.
Oh, yeah?
Their
The
children
kids,
are starting to speak with British accents.
They're going on holidays.
Yeah,
Absolutely
true. They have to go to hospital.
Yeah. Oh God. the only one I refuse to allow my kids to say is the boot, or the trunk as the boot. If my kids start talking about the trunk as a boot, get out of here. I was just watching a thing where a guy was talking about how he went to like a swap meet. And he was like, "Yeah, we went to a boot meet or something like that." And I was like, "A boot meet? What the? Like a trunk or treat?
Your trunk, yeah.
Anyways,
My daughter watches YouTubers, and one that she watches a lot is Australian.
Oh, okay.
And the other day she asked me, she goes, "Do you reckon I could such and such?" And I go, "Do I what?
I don't
Do I reckon?"
I reckon you can try that sentence again. Oh, man. So a good ending, would you say?
I thought it was good
Okay.
because,
It's got to end somehow.
yeah, and he just rides off. He's going to continue to be an asshole who takes advantage of every situation for himself, but he's being a true friend for once, spending the last couple months of his buddy's life.
Okay. Yeah. But he also knows his buddy's going to die. And then
And he's also a
Might take
felon.
his
He's
identity,
also
too.
a felon on the run.
Yeah.
To me, that's where that goes, is that he's clearly taking his friend's identity. So really not being a great friend.
He's dead. He's dead. Who cares?
Living on his legacy.
We'll go die on the beach in Mexico. Nobody will know. I'm now Dr. Wilson.
But no, everyone thinks you're an asshole.
Your legacy is
Yeah, you're known as this, charismatic and caring doctor, and now, it turns out he's just been an asshole the whole time.
God, we brought this guy in thinking it was going to be all cherry and roses, but no, dick.
Got it. Start counting. How many?
26.
Okay. Either you suck at math, or you're gonna die in 2 seconds. You suck at math.
So let's continue on with endings then. 'Cause I'm going to just jump in here and I'm going to move one of these up my list here. That you agree is a good ending. This is a show that started in 2004 that has a dog ending.
Is it Lost?
It is Lost.
Okay.
They survived the crash.
Do you think he's gonna live?
Do you know him?
He was sitting next to me.
But now
It's been 6 days. We're all still waiting.
they'll have to face the unknown
Somebody's coming. Who was that?
and each other.
I can't stay here.
We still don't know what's out there.
I have worse things to fear than what's in the jungle.
Well, you kind of know she's in that mugshot, and that guy keeps mumbling she's dangerous.
We can't live together. We're gonna die alone. 'Cause 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 think they would have come by now. Who? Anyone.
So I don't think we need to go in super deep into Lost, because I think Lost is something that I do recommend people consume. I actually do. I think it is a show that the first season is so freaking good. But the reason it's so good is you keep thinking, God, man, when they really tell me what's going on here, this is going to be wild.
8 seasons later.
And it's so wild as it is dumb. So, but I went back and rewatched this just a couple years ago again. And I think I got into like season 4 or something. It was just like, I can't continue this for, because it really gets to the point where they're just fluffing. I mean, it's nothing but fluff, and it's just circling back on one another. And it gets to a point where you're like, you've created magic that needs no bounds. Anything can happen at any point. It's just a silly show at that point. And then it doesn't come to a good conclusion. But that first season of Lost is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's a very cool experience. And that was network television. A pretty cool show to have on regular network television. Pretty big budget. Pretty wild cliffhangers each week. Keeping you coming back. And then polar bears.
So I never watched it.
Okay.
And I knew people were disappointed with it. Everybody who liked the show disliked the show.
Yes. Well, because
so I just never watched it.
Yeah, you can't like the show.
It's like, okay, so you like it, but you don't like it. I'm just not going to take my time.
It's a very cool show until it's not. Like it is.
It's so mysterious.
Yes.
With answers just on the other side of the curtain.
Yes.
But the curtain just keeps getting further away.
The curtain changes colors.
It's just never get anything out of it. You're like, oh man, what's this going to be?
It is.
Nothing.
It's literally just a show of cliffhangers that there's never any, the cliff just keeps moving, right? Like, no, it wasn't even a cliff. There was no cliff. No cliff. It is such a bizarre decision. It is one of those things where, because we talked about this before too. They had the Bible,
right?
You know, the writer said the Bible, this is our story and this is where we're going. Bull fucking shit. There's no way that the beginning to the end is what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
This is Game of Thrones, only it's the same people throughout writing it. Like Game of Thrones, at least it gets to the point where you ran out of material and then your stuff sucked.
And that is what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the same people throughout the whole thing. And I think it was one of those instances of, we didn't think this was going to be this popular. So now, because this happens with every show.
Oh yeah, we want 6 seasons in a movie now.
Yeah, and this is every show. Every show has its filler episodes that are meant to be less expensive to film. You know, you have your Seinfeld is a great example of it. But there's like the 4th episode where they're just in the Chinese restaurant. Those are episodes you build into your show run to fluff out the season, and those are cheap to actually produce. So every show has that. But this show becomes seasons of that, where you're just like, this entire season does not matter at all. But then you get to the end and you realize nothing fucking matters, so it doesn't matter.
I never made it to the end.
Oh my God.
I think I made it to like season 5 where they get quote unquote off the island.
Oh, Jesus.
And then there's like court cases and something or other.
Yeah, it literally is the weirdest freaking show of all time. But watch the first season, maybe even the second season, because it's really good television. That first season is so well done that it's like, okay, it is how I feel about Game of Thrones. Watch Game of Thrones. Maybe don't watch the end of Game of Thrones. Maybe skip the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. In this, just watch the first season.
Yeah, maybe the second. I think it's about the 3rd where you're like, I don't think these people know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Wait a second, there's no end game here, is there?
And by then they've got their hooks in you really strongly too. So we can move on from that. I want to throw out another one just real quick that is another show that only had 3 seasons, but I think the first season's really good and then it just kind of falls apart. Deadwood.
Never seen it.
Wanted to love it.
Yeah.
The premise is great.
Yeah. And then Wild Bill dies and you're like, all right, I'm done with this show. And that's about, if you want my review of Deadwood, Wild Bill dies, then the show is dumb. Other than that, okay, right? There's not much to the premise either, though, because
No, it's just kind of building the railroad, right?
yeah, Deadwood as a town is interesting for about like 4 stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's not interesting as like a whole thing.
They didn't establish it as a character.
No. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And it is it has to be the character. Because once Bill dies, there's nothing left.
That's why we tune in.
Now there's a town that doesn't really matter too much. So, and then I'm going to throw this out. This is early in the episode for this. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the pivoting Piven.
Ari Gold.
The Jeremy
2004
Piven hairline scale. For those of you who have been with us through our entire journey, Jeremy Piven has a hairline. Jeremy Piven's hairline is a thing of beauty and something that I respect thoroughly. In 1994, Jeremy Piven is bald. We are now 10 years removed from 1994. Jeremy Piven is no longer bald.
At all.
All.
He is fully recovered.
Nice full head of hair.
Nice full. I would say we still got a couple more notches to go on the Jeremy Piven, but this is the one that Jeremy Piven is the most known for. This is Entourage.
Yes.
So we're going to do the Jeremy Piven real quick. This is 2004 Jeremy Piven hairline scale.
Oh, gorgeous.
Gorgeous locks. But yeah, in 2004, season 1, he still has a little bit of room to grow.
There's a little bit left there. We have not reached the end of the Piven scale. Some people will say, you know, who gives a shit? You're being a dick. No, quite the opposite. This is mad respect. This man took 10 years of his life and said, we are going to very slowly recover this hairline. And by then people will forget, wait a minute, I'm an actor and all of these shows still exist.
and just to vouch for your mad respect, just last night at the city council meeting, the council president said, if anybody in this room knows anything about hair, it's the mayor.
The mayor's hair. I'm a man who has taken great care of his hair. I will admit this, and I shouldn't admit this on this podcast. It's just good genes, except for my brother sitting to the left of us, and he hasn't taken a bandana off in 14 years. I got lucky with the hair. It's under a hat today because it's too long, and I don't know if you've watched any of our YouTube episodes. But the mayor's hair is going to become a meme at some point because the fucking shit does not stay put through the entire episode. I have got some wicked things going on half the time in these episodes with my hair.
Well, you adjust the headphones and you get your flaps on top.
I'm trying to cut shorts for this, for like our Instagrams and whatnot, and every time I got some kind of poof sticking up on the top like some kind of idiot. But I will say this. My original marriage, she was a cosmetologist, had a salon in the house, and she got me hooked on. It's called Nioxin, which is a shampoo and conditioner. You get a different shampoo and a conditioner. The shit's $25 a fucking bottle.
I buy the 14-in-1.
Yeah, so I'm spending. I mean, they're giant bottles, but I am thousands of dollars into the hair at this point.
Are those the white ones?
The white ones, the big white ones.
She gave that to me when I was 19 because I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm losing all my hair.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's just because it's really long now because I had hair down to like my shoulders.
You should have kept with the
and I was like,
shampoo.
no, I'm telling you, the amount of hair I'm pulling out of my head
you should have
not right.
You should have stuck with the Nioxin because
maybe you should have never introduced it.
Well, maybe. At this point, I can't stop. So it always reminds me of the hair in Maine from Blades of Glory. Blades of Glory with
Napoleon Dynamite and Elf.
Yeah.
And Elf.
It reminds me of it every single time. So, anyways, the Jeremy Piven hairline scale, 2004. Entourage. Do we need to talk about it very much? It's a cool show. I think I've consumed all of it. Very good show. HBO show. People really like it.
I've never seen any of it.
Really?
The only thing I know about it is let's hug it out, bitch.
No.
It's a good show. I caught bits and pieces of every season, enough to kind of just follow the story arc of the crew. And yeah, it's a good show.
It's interesting. You know, it's an interesting take on Hollywood. You got a young guy that's trying to be an actor. Then you got all of his friends that are along with him. And then what that kind of looks like from like a coattails type of thing. The entourage, as you would say, right in the title. But but it's an interesting take. And then Jeremy Piven is the best character in the entire show. So I like it. I think I've consumed that entire thing. I don't think I've ever seen. I have. I think I did see the movie as well. But good show, excellent, and it was 2004 as well. And then lastly, let's just throw this one out before we move on. Television is an interesting thing. Sometimes you get concepts that are maybe a little too wild. In 2004, a show called Wife Swap debuted.
That was introduced on the Chappelle Show. It was a fucking Chappelle Show skit.
What? So I wanted to look up, and I still have it, to see which one came first. Because
it was definitely Chappelle Show.
They had to have been right around the same time, because Chappelle Show started in 2003.
So somebody at Fox saw that, and they're like, brilliant.
Yeah, great idea.
I think so. It could be the other way around.
There's no
maybe.
way. Because that's the whole reason he made the parody.
Sure.
Because it was, what was the original one that he was parodying?
Hi, and welcome to Trading Spouses.
The Chappelle Show skit is hilarious.
Yes.
I smell your lightsaber.
I smell your lightsaber, dude.
I smell your lightsaber.
Or titty residue.
Yeah, I'm right with you. Those are the two.
Titty residue. Hello?
Those are some of my favorite all-time Chappelle quotes to ever exist. But then, goddamn it, if Fox didn't just come right along and be like, you know what, we're actually going to do this. And you took a wife and you swapped them into a different family. And if you can imagine, that's weird.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Right.
Yeah.
Very.
Well, they didn't do like, hey, our wives are kind of the same. It was like wildly different scenarios.
Right. They swapped opposite personalities, and then the wives had to move into this unknown environment and try to make it go their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the hippie wife swapping with the biker mom.
Yeah. I mean, you're just asking for it, right? That show had to end in multiple divorces. There has to be illegitimate children. There has to be, right? There has to be.
Well, did he come or what?
Probably.
There has to be. There's no way that there's zero children that were produced based off of the show Wife Swap.
Yeah, or just the permanent.
Yeah.
Like you did the wife swap and you're both just like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it, keep her. Yeah, I'll keep this one.
Yeah, this is way more easy going.
Most marriages have an underlying current of this kind of fucking sucks.
Right. You know what? Let's introduce some fun to our lives.
Yeah.
Get you out of here. Bring in somebody else. It's for TV? I know, it's just for TV.
Yeah, just for TV. Just for TV. I want way more sandwiches. So many more blowjobs. Way better. All right. Very lastly, on the TV spectrum, ladies and gentlemen, we don't always talk about sports in the Be Kind Rewind. However, in 2004, the NBA brought to us what I will refer to as the Shane Gillis moment of music history.
Okay.
So Shane Gillis, very popular right now. The man is hilarious. Some of the best comedies stuff that's out there right now. Fantastic stand-up special.
Yes.
The show on Netflix is actually pretty funny.
Tires.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's pretty funny.
Got Stavi in it too.
Yeah. But just the amount of stuff, the amount of podcasts that he goes on, the amount of consumable content of Shane Gillis right now is fantastic. Well, Shane Gillis is known for getting cast onto SNL and then immediately getting removed from SNL because he had some questionable
jokes.
Yeah, we'll go that route. But just
had an Asian joke, which was apparently inappropriate the day he was hired to SNL.
The second it was discovered, see you later. And he makes a great joke about how I was the defining moment in Asian history.
Yep. Somebody is going to be that for Italians.
Yes.
Yeah, so right now you can come up here and Guido Hook Nose.
Yeah. Hey, now, careful. You're setting yourself up.
Yeah. You might be the guy.
Yeah, I'll be famous.
However, in 2003, the Black Eyed Peas released their album Elefunk. And they had a song on there that is, for 2003, perfectly fine.
The NBA said, hey, we want this for the playoffs.
We like this song so much. So the NBA and ESPN paid to have this song put into their promotional stuff for the NBA playoffs for 2004. Now the song is Let's Get It Started.
Is it?
However, that's not how it started.
Let's get it started.
A Berenstain Bears moment.
Let's Get It Started is what most people remember this song as being. However,
not me.
Pretty sure.
Not me either. Because I remember when this came on, the first promotion for ESPN, when they started singing Let's Get It Started, I was like, well, first of all, that ain't it. But second of all, what is happening right now? The initial song is Let's Get Started.
Yes.
Let's get retarded. Let's get retarded in here.
And we bleeped it, and we'll continue to bleep it every single time, because in 2024, we don't say the word.
Nope. That died in 2003.
In 2003, it is on the album. It is the name of the song. It is said immediately.
Let's get
immediately. At one point, she spells it.
And really soulfully too. She sings those letters so
she is
from her
into
heart.
It is the fabric and essence of the song. It isn't just a lyric. It is the being of the song.
There's some lines in the song that only make sense.
I
with
would
the
argue.
right context.
I would argue the majority of the song only makes sense with the right context.
In this context, there's no disrespect, so we got 5 minutes for us to disconnect from all intellect and let the rhythm affect.
This is a moment that I remember very clearly. When this first came on, and I was like, "That's a wild decision. That's a wild decision," and it just got swept.
Yep.
It just got swept right under the rug, and nobody even remembers that that's what that song was to begin with. Gabe, you said you didn't even know.
I didn't even know. I learned that today. Yeah.
Which is
but
crazy.
I'm all for it.
It's just crazy to me that can actually happen. And now, granted, you put enough money behind something, it becomes the thing, right? Mm-hmm. If you have, if Jaws would have had a movie that came out the same weekend and was, just spent more money on and had a bigger budget, you wouldn't know that Jaws exists. Mm-hmm. And that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it wasn't something new. It was the same effing thing. And it was the theme song to the NBA playoffs. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Everybody, let's get into it and get stupid.
Rhymes with it started.
Look, hear me out. No, hear me out. Anyways, sorry if we offended anybody in that portion there, but honestly, that is a watershed moment in music history where in 2003, not only is it okay,
it's a hit.
It is a hit. 2004, you know what? Let's dial it back a little bit. Let's not. And for rightful reasons, and thank God that we did. Okay, let's get towards the end of this episode now. We got a couple things to talk about to kind of drive this baby home. Let's talk super fast. One of the things we said we were going to talk about with 2004 is the internet. Mm-hmm. Internet's been around for a long time at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our family was early adopters of computers. We were online gaming way back.
Oh yeah. Warcraft 2.
Yeah, Warcraft 2. Also doing it wasn't GeoCities. I always forget what it was, but there were chat rooms that we were always hanging out on as well. So it's not that the internet was new in 2004, but the internet 2.0.
Right.
High speed.
Yeah. This is the point where the internet becomes what you think of the internet being now, as opposed to what the internet was prior to that.
Right.
So the Facebook, as it was originally called, launches in Harvard in 2004. Flickr is another one that launched. Now, not a big thing, but at the time, big deal. The other one that I was really surprised by was Gmail.
Yeah.
Prior to 2004, there was no Gmail.
Nope, only Yahoo and
only
AOL.
Yahoo and
I had Hotmail.
Hotmail.
Yes,
I
that's right.
still have a Hotmail
I
that
remember,
I don't use.
I remember when Gmail was rolled out, you had to have an invitation.
Yes.
To get, you had to be invited by somebody else with a Gmail account. So they just got like everybody, like our generation, like wanted an invite. So they've got us hooked.
Can I be honest with you? There was a point in my life where I was embarrassed that I had a Hotmail email address. I will admit that.
When I didn't know what Hotmail was, I was 5 years, I still am 5 years younger than you. I remember when I first saw, I didn't even know what an email address was. And I just saw something Hotmail. And I was like, is he gay?
I'm the one that you just thought I couldn't spell.
I remember thinking, like, what the hell is he looking at? Hotmails? Why are you looking at Hotmails?
Dave_Badeaux at gay?
Wow.
But yeah, it's an interesting time frame. I think moving forward, we're going to have some fun with kind of like diving into some of these websites and stuff that popped up. Because this is really when high speed became the norm.
Right.
We were still on dial-up forever because we lived out in the sticks.
Right. We couldn't get it.
Yeah. So this was when I'm down in college. My apartment is, down in more of a metropolitan area. So I'm now getting high-speed internet, and the internet still sucked. Don't get me wrong. It was a complete waste of time. And it was just because it's a weird thing when you think about it now, how little we interact with websites now is really interesting. But then everything was a website, and you had to have a website. So people were paying big bucks to get really shitty websites made for them. And this is where they started to kind of change the way they looked too, because everything prior to this looked exactly the same. It all had like some kind of blinking freaking animation somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, it was all Space Jam.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
It was exactly like Space Jam, which still exists in its original form.
Yeah, still exists. Any other thoughts on the internet type stuff before we wrap it into the next category?
I don't think so.
Okay,
so it's just a nice little starting off point for the next couple of years.
So the big reason for bringing up the internet is because video games moving forward from here, it all becomes very entangled with the internet.
Oh yeah, completely changed.
Yes. And so
unless you're Nintendo.
Unless you're still struggling to figure that whole part thing out. The one that I have here is Halo 2. This being the limited edition tin case collector's box, which, God, I'm glad that I bought that version.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, got that right there, nice and heavy, and evidently they do rust. There's a bunch of them out there that are rusted now.
Don't pour any salt on it.
Yeah, so that's kind of fun. But this was when, so Halo, the original Halo was a lot of fun. You got together, you brought all your Xbox, your giant Xbox to each other's houses.
Oh my God, you carry in your 40-inch CRT TVs, trying to get that in the back seat of your car. Weighs 130 pounds.
And that was a great experience, which needs to come back in some form, right? The LAN party needs to come back. But this is when Xbox Live really hit, and Halo 2 was the first, I would say, tentpole game of Xbox Live.
For sure.
There were other games that used it. I think we talked about Crimson Skies before. That's 2003. That had Xbox Live. So it existed and it functioned. But this is the first instance where I remember specifically like, okay, we are buying this game. I was down in the cities. My best friend still lived here in town. And so now him and I could actually continue to play video games. And it blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that I've grown up playing online games, but the extent of this was so much different than what we were used to.
Yeah.
The quality of it, the headset, the whole experience of getting called, probably a let's get it started.
Yeah.
But it became so integral to the whole process of video games.
And it hasn't changed much in 20 years.
No.
Like our kids are now playing Fortnite with their buddies and it's the same. It's the headset, it's the internet, it's the controller.
It's just what you do.
Yep.
And I would actually argue that the reason why Microsoft and Xbox isn't as huge as it should be is that they perfected it early. And so they had this big, big advantage for years because everybody else was scrambling to try and figure out how to compete with that. And now everyone else is just kind of doing the same thing. So the thing you were really good at and was the reason to own your device is now just a normal part of life. which is crazy. Thoughts on specifically Halo 2?
That was just an incredible game. I remember when it came out, and everybody bought it. We went over to Blake Alguire's house.
Okay, all right, Blake.
And, I mean, there was 20 of us.
Yeah.
And you
to
could
watch this game.
And it's just take turns playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what we did for the next couple weeks. And especially, in particular, that day.
Yeah.
It was just like, there was, I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure we all skipped school.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
It's like nobody went to school because Halo came out and we were just going to be playing Halo.
I was in college. I did not go to school, and I also called in sick. I know that for a fact. And so I worked at a office.
So you can identify with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I worked at I worked at Office Max, and the GameStop was like not right next door, but very, very, very close. So to go get the game, I had to be very careful about getting my game because I didn't want them to see me getting the game and then not coming to work the next day. Yeah.
What if you miss?
I won't. Halo 2, awesome, really fun, really changed the way that the whole Halo franchise headed as well.
Yeah,
with the co-op and everything. One thing I want to add about it was there was at the beginning there was a glitch that you could on your Wi-Fi router. You could push the button, and I can't remember what the button was called, but you could push the button for just a second and then push it again, and so the game would actually allow you to continue to play. Okay. And then when you push it again, it would catch back up, but whatever you did would then load the data back to whoever you were playing with. So you could actually disconnect from the internet for a couple seconds, grab the flag, and push the button again and then take off. I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I will take advantage of.
Cheater.
I am a cheater. I am a cheater. I will cheat at every game I've ever played in my life. The second I found out that was a thing, God, I wish I could remember what we called it.
Yeah, can you believe that him and our oldest brother don't get along playing video games very well? You should see Risk. We brought up Risk before.
Oh, I could see Dave rolling dice.
Listen, I'm the Bill Belichick of rules. I will get right to the edge of the rule and I will interpret the rule in whichever way I damn well please.
I'm going to go back to GoldenEye. You don't look at other people's screens.
No, you don't look at other people's screens, but goddamn it,
disagree.
If you don't disconnect.
I'm sorry, I have ADHD and can focus on 17 different things at a time. That's my superpower. Get on my level.
All right, we'll wrap this baby back in super fast. But Xbox Live, big deal. On the PC side of things, Half-Life 2 was the big one. Mm-hmm. And that came out in November 16th of 2004, which was the first big, I would say, tentpole, just like Xbox Live, of Steam.
Yeah.
So Steam came out in 2003, September 12th, 2003. It was a functioning, online service. And then, if I remember correctly, I believe Half-Life 2, there was actually stuff you had to download as well. So you had to use Steam in order for this to work.
And now it's pretty much the only show in town for computer gaming.
Yeah, it's crazy that Steam is now the marketplace for PC gaming. Mm-hmm. I was on Twitter and there was a guy that is making his own game, and it just kind of popped up, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It was like this very basic, low polygon racer. I wish I could remember what it's called. I think it's called Super Polygon GT or something like that. But anyways, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I went on Steam and purchased that game specifically just to give this guy like a tip of the cap. Like, okay, I'll give you $5 or whatever it was. But that's where you go purchase things. I didn't go like, oh, internet, where do I
find his website?
Like literally just went to Steam and was like, if you're trying to sell a game and it's a PC game, it has to be on Steam now, which is crazy. So this is the start of all of that. The internet has become vital to everyone's lives, and specifically for gaming as well.
Finishing this fight.
And then last thing, Nintendo DS launches, but also the Sony PSP.
Whoa! This is so much smaller than I remember.
Yeah, so I remember thinking the PSP was gigantic. So I've got both of those in front of us. I've got the box here for my my DS. It's a DS Fat. Sadly, the hinges broke on it. But this is the original DS Fat. And just
that's big.
Yeah, the difference in the two products is interesting, and this is the only reason I want to bring it up, is so these are two handheld devices. This is where Nintendo went in one direction and Sony went in another.
Aesthetic-wise, the PSP blows it out of the water.
It does, but it didn't sell very well because it was extremely expensive. It had proprietary media, and it, in terms of functionality, it was the PS2 only in your hand, right? And not quite as good. Nintendo, at this point, this is when Nintendo makes their jump into like, this is where we're going to go. Because at this point, they had been chasing, you had the N64 is way more powerful than the PlayStation. GameCube is way more powerful than the PS2. This comes out, and this is a shift in thoughts where, okay, we're going to make it all about play surfaces and ideas and going in a different direction. Touch screen was a big deal. 2 screens, which is so weird. Now it's like just gimmicky. Then it was like, oh, this is great. I can see so much more.
Yeah, I'm sure Scott loved it.
Yeah, just make a big, just make a bigger screen. Anyways, but very interesting that this is kind of the defining moment in when Nintendo switches and starts getting into Nintendo switches over to getting into this more, hey, we're not going to chase the high end stuff. We're going to just make it all about the game itself. And it's a cool idea, which led directly to the Wii. So, yeah.
You could get movies on the PSP. They made like
open
actual movies.
Yeah, open that
because it was
baby
a
up.
disc.
Yeah, there's a
like a mini disc.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's a UMD.
Oh, there you go.
UMD. So it's a tiny disc that's encased.
Universal mini.
Final Fantasy 2.
Final Fantasy 2.
Solid choice.
Not 4.
Not 4. 2, the game that nobody likes.
Oh, I thought it was the best game of all time.
No, that's 2 on Super Nintendo, which is 4. Anyways.
That's 6 on Super Nintendo, which is 3.
Thank you.
All right, we're running out of time, folks. Gabe Johnson, we have time for one more topic. In 2004, a lot of things happened. But one of the greatest things that could have possibly ever happened in Granby, Colorado.
Yeah, a gentleman by the name of Marvin Heemeyer had been having problems with the town and his neighbors for about 12 years.
Yes.
12 years.
So in 92, he purchased an industrial lot at an auction for his muffler business.
Yes.
Well, pretty much immediately, they discovered that his sewer system was just a buried cement tank. So the city said, no, you got to hook up to the water and sewer. You can't have a bucket.
Yeah. Big bucket.
He didn't like that?
He didn't like it. It was like an $80,000 expense to get to the main.
Yes. 400 feet, I believe.
Yeah. And he wanted the government to pay for it. The government said no.
Yes.
In 97, his neighbor was trying to create expand their concrete mixing business.
Yes.
And they wanted his property. So he said, fine, for $250, you can have it. They said, okay. He said, no, $350. And they said, fine. He said, no, $450. And they walked away.
Yes.
So them, he's not happy with them.
Yes. No, he doesn't like them at all, no.
Eventually, he delays this concrete plant for years, talking about too much noise in the industrial park. It'll be noise pollution. It'll be water pollution. You don't want noise in industrial parks in Granby, Colorado. Right? But in 2001, the plant gets approved.
Yes.
And he starts racking up fines.
They were charging him $100 a day, I believe it was.
Something like that, because he was still shitting in a bucket and then just dumping it into the ditch next door.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he just had a buried thing that just had nowhere to go.
Every time it filled up, he used like a gas pump type contraption and just dump it in a drainage ditch.
Gross. Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
The town wasn't happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy either.
So he finally decided, I'm going to just close my business, sell everything I have. He had an auction. Everything he owned sold, except for his bulldozer and his building.
His bulldozer that he purchased and positioned on the property facing the competition, let's say. The neighbor that he wasn't quite so neighborly with.
He just aimed a bulldozer at them?
Yeah, he positioned it there. We are not talking about a small bulldozer. We are talking about a gigantic bulldozer.
It did fit into his building.
Yes.
By inches.
Inches.
It was like 11 feet, 10 inches high and 7 feet, 10 inches wide.
Yep.
So it barely fit into the building.
Into the building.
So after it didn't sell at auction, he brought it into the building.
At this point, though, and I'll jump in on the story. At this point, the building does sell.
He sells it for $400,000 and leases half of it back.
Yes. So he bought this building for $42,000, the property. 10 years later, he sells it for $400,000.
Okay.
And the next day, they're hooked up to sewer.
Yes. They just hook it. They just hook it up. Within 24 hours. Yeah. They're like, you know what? We'd like to hook this up.
Yeah.
Because we would like to operate this as part of our business. But he barely gets that thing to squeeze in. So he releases from the people that bought it, and he barely gets his Killdozer or his bulldozer.
His bulldozer.
His bulldozer. Sorry, his bulldozer.
So now he's got a bulldozer, a leased garage, and $400,000.
Yes.
As is, of course, the tradition.
And nothing to do with life.
Nothing to do. Closed his business, sold everything. Spends the next 18 months sleeping in there and working every waking moment, fixing up his bulldozer.
With?
Steel and concrete.
So he made a tank.
Hold on to your butts.
He added about 30,000 pounds of half-inch gauge steel, two-sided, filled with concrete in the middle, covering the whole bulldozer.
Holy shit.
He armor plated with concrete, spacing between the armor plating, the entire bulldozer. And then what happened? What do you do? What's it going to do with such a thing?
Why?
Well, then he had all the steel, but he also had some plastic. He rigged up cameras on the front and the rear of the bulldozer.
So he could see?
With 3-inch clear bulletproof glass. And put a couple televisions inside.
Yeah, just a couple monitors.
Okay.
Just a couple monitors.
I was going to say, did he leave himself an eye hole so he could drive the damn thing? No, he put cameras on the outside and TVs.
The only hole going into the cab is off the rear end of the bulldozer. That it was just about that big.
Yeah, like a quarter.
Yeah, fit about the right size for a 50 cal rifle.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Pointed out the back.
Right to jail, right away.
So he
okay.
So he builds his bulldozer. He makes it so that you can't get into the bulldozer. Puts monitors on the outside with cameras so that's how he can see, and then mounts a rifle out the back of it as well. 50 cal rifle.
Yeah, that's
the
powerful.
build-up. Let's go to June 4th, 2004, Dave. Take it away.
Listen, so it's a nice morning in Colorado. People are just getting ready for work. And all of a sudden, there's a couple 911 calls, which is the part of this story that I love the most. I was flipping through stuff, and I believe this is on YouTube. There is a documentary called Tread, and it has the whole story. Starts off talking about all the stuff from the background like we did. And at first I'm like, wow, this guy's got a point here. And then they start showing some of the other players in the thing. And I was like, why would you even come on this? You're going to get lamb blasted. Lamb blasted.
Lamb blasted.
Lamb blasted.
Gonna blast your lamb.
You kind of start to find out a little bit through this that maybe a guy that builds a bulldozer and puts armor plating on has maybe got a few screws loose. So some 911 calls start coming in, and there's great audio from this. And essentially, he has driven to the cement factory and has just began demolishing the buildings.
Yeah. Bulldozing it.
An active business
that is
being operated and people are at work.
Oh no!
Are now help? There's a bulldozer taking out our building.
Yeah.
911, what's your emergency? This is Sherry at the trash company. And there is a bulldozer over at Mount Pleasant Concrete destroying their building. It's destroying the building? Okay. Yeah. Is anyone on it? Yeah, it's all encased in metal, and you can't see who's driving or anything. They can't get it to stop.
Very armored situation.
When I copy, there's an armored bulldozer carrying on the building. There are several deputies en route.
The owner of that business gets in his front end loader.
No.
Yes.
No. They have a battle?
They have a battle. A bulldozing battle.
So he gets his front end loader under the skids and then tries to lift it, tries to flip him over.
Yep.
Took all 3 tires off the ground. He was on one tire, and there's a picture of it in the documentary. Couldn't lift that thing an inch.
Nope. Well, no, he put, what did you say?
Like
40,000 pounds?
Yep. Yeah. So sure as what's our buddy do? Starts shooting the 50 cal directly into the front loader.
Oh my God.
Shortly after that, Cody realized that was too much. He was done.
It is incredible. So he goes, through the story, and I highly recommend this. Look up this documentary because it goes through all the players and whatnot. So the one thing we kind of missed in it is that he thinks that he's an outsider that has moved to this town. He's Rambo in this instance. He very much thinks he's Rambo.
Yeah.
He moves to the town. They're all out to get him. Turns out they just don't want you pumping your shit on the ground, right?
And they gave this guy a permit to expand his business. Like,
yeah.
Like he's being personally wronged and all this. So he's looking at the mayor, he's looking at the city council members, and he thinks it's a good old boys club who's out to get it.
And now, granted, there probably is a little bit of that. But the funny thing about the documentary is, like, they talk about all these people, and it's like, oh man, yeah, screw this dude. This is just that. It is Rambo, right? The good old boys club just out to get you. And then you like see these people, and you're like, they're just normal fucking dudes. It's like 2 brothers. There's like, I don't know what the hell this guy's problem was.
Look like they operate a concrete company.
Like, we just want to go to work. And then one day, all of a sudden, he's tearing our shit down. But he takes out the concrete business. And at this point, the cops have been called. They're trying to figure out what to do because there's nothing they can do to stop this.
He goes to
thing.
City Hall.
He starts heading towards town. Brief stop at the propane factory.
Just a brief stop.
Fired a handful of rounds at the giant propane storage tanks and missed and then went about his way.
Well, I've seen the Mythbusters on that. It's almost impossible. The Mythbusters have, I think, busted that. You can't shoot a propane tank and make it explode. It just isn't. It's not really a thing. I believe it's the case.
They did it for the movie Jaws.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And now, granted, maybe a giant propane tank, maybe you could potentially do it. But I think it's pretty much been busted. Anyway, but he tries.
Yes.
So then he starts making his way back to town, and they're aware this man's going for City Hall.
They do a reverse 911 call, which I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
But they call automated call in 2004.
Yeah.
Everybody in town is saying, get the fuck out of town.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah, we can't stop this man. He is coming into town. Get the fuck out of town. It's incredible. The footage of it is, I thought we were going to get like some grainy footage of a couple things. At first, there's only like a few things like pictures and whatnot, but eventually news gets
they get the helicopter out.
Yeah. And it's unbelievable. This bulldozer is gigantic.
Yeah.
It's like 2 stories tall by the time he puts this thing on it. But he had actually lowered the armor on top of it. Okay. So there's no way to get in this thing.
Yeah.
So he got in, lowered the armor on top of it, and then drove out. So short of lifting the helmet back off of this giant bulldozer, there's no way to get into this.
Yeah.
Takes out City Hall. Goes after the next people that he believes wronged him.
Goes after the former mayor's house.
He takes out City Hall.
Oh, just takes
We're
it
just
out.
going to
just
gloss over that.
Well, what else do you say about it?
He bulldozes City Hall.
He drove a bulldozer into City Hall, and then City Hall was no more.
Okay.
Everybody did evacuate.
Yeah.
So he's out on this rampage, and he's not actually hurting anybody. But took out City Hall, went to the former mayor's house, and then started attacking businesses where all the city council members worked. like had scouted out where their offices were in the buildings and was bulldozing through banks and hardware stores and
Yeah.
Man had a plan.
Yeah. There are multiple instances of the city getting out massive vehicles like land scrapers and graders and stuff and trying to like ram him.
Yeah, trying to battle him.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's not just a bulldozer bulldozing a city. It is the city then going, well, what do we got?
Yeah.
I think
Scramble the dump trucks.
What we haven't mentioned and what really adds to this documentary, maybe makes it, he was so self-righteous and thought he was doing the right thing that he recorded a bunch of tapes of how he did it, what he was doing it, why he was doing it, why he hated these people. So those are all part of the document. We hear this guy explaining why he's doing this.
So this is a nutcase dude that during the day wouldn't work on the bulldozer because people would hear it. So he would wait until
It'd be too noisy.
It would be too noisy. So he waits for the company that's running the business. They leave at 5:30 or whatever. So he works all night.
Okay.
So during the day and stuff, sleeping, but he's just basically recording his manifesto.
Right.
To do what I believe needs to be done, what God has inspired me to do. I am the co-captain of my life. God is first, I am second. You have tried to control my life. You have tried to be the captain of my life. You do not run my life. You do not determine what I desire, what I want, what I deserve. I determine that, and my God determines that.
He's a nut job, right? I mean,
he's a nut job, but all of his friends, like he wasn't like isolated from society. He had an ex-girlfriend, some friends in there, and they all thought he was nice. He was a great guy. They don't know why he was so mad at the city council.
So in his eyes, he goes to buy this property at the auction and he beats out this other guy. And from that very moment, that man hates him and is going to do everything to get him. So from his eyes, he's like, I bought the property, and the first thing that the old boys club does is say, you can't operate it because you don't have sewer. Really, it's just, hey, buddy, because and being on the other side of that.
And they spot zoned his property after he bought it.
They did spot zone it, and I will give him that.
What's that mean?
They changed the zoning in the industrial park for that one property so he couldn't operate a muffler business.
Yeah. So basically, there was some screwing going on. But then you find out that he got $400,000 after 10 years for a property that he paid $40,000 for. Yeah, and you also had a deal for $250,000 and you backed out. Then you had a deal for $370,000 and you backed out. You made bank on this. You were doing just fine. At some point, my sympathy for you wanes.
And by all accounts, he was a pretty good welder.
Yeah, turns out the man could weld. I just want to quickly finish this baby up here, but it is a fantastic documentary. I highly recommend watching it. At the very end, he ends up getting stuck and takes his own life. It took hours for them to actually get into this thing. They had to basically get a acetylene torch or whatever it is and burn a hole to get into this thing. But yeah, it's a fascinating story that we don't know about because the very next day, Ronald Reagan died. So it would have been international news. You would know everything about this. The very next day, Ronald Reagan died. And that was the end of that. So 2004, let's wrap this episode up. The Killdozer is fucking awesome.
Yes, it is.
I'm glad nobody died. He definitely took some shots at some people, and he's lucky that nobody died. So it does make it a little. I mean,
he was out to kill. He just sucked at killing.
Yeah, he wasn't very good.
A good welder, bad killer.
Very good at knocking down buildings, though. You remember the game Blast Corps on N64? This is what that is.
Okay.
He goes through buildings that are concrete like butter.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Unbelievable. So highly recommend it. Great.
And if you're in the market for a bulldozer, I would get a Komatsu.
She's the one to get. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's wrap this episode up. Scott, final take on 2004. Go.
Cool.
Let's start calling it the Killdozer. And over to Gabriel Johnson.
Love the Killdozer story. Great doc. Love House.
Great doc.
I'm going to say 2004 is a good year.
Very good year. Actually, was it 2003 you didn't like? I think it was. You said it was
2 and 3
lame.
were both kind of lame.
Yeah, kind of lame. I will say.
You had babies.
Yeah. 2000.
Now my baby can sleep all night so I can watch House.
2004 is a pretty sweet year, I will say. It definitely got things started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week with the Be Kind Rewind Part 2, the movies of 2004. Shoot those over to us. We will be talking about for sure Without a Paddle, Napoleon Dynamite, and what's the
Team America.
Team America. Those are the big three we'll be talking about. But if you got something, shoot it to us. Still got a week to get it over to us, and we'll get those on as well. Thank you to the Boutros.
Yes.
Thank you to Gabriel Johnson.
Thank you.
And thank you to the fans. And with that, we're done. Yeah, the Killdozer thing is crazy. We could have done another 20 minutes on that, and I think we almost need to take that documentary and just do an episode on it.
We'll do a what the fuck happened.
It was
Killdozer.
It's awesome.
I've seen most of that footage, but I don't remember.
Oh.
I don't remember the tank battles.
Oh, it's awesome.
Lightsaber.